Hello viewers, so welcome to today's episode of the People's Voice newspaper. It's the Alpha Spouse Relationship segment. My name is Emmanuel Opako and I'm privileged to be your host on today's program. Before we look into today's subject of discussion, I have in the studio my guest and I would love to introduce them. From far right is Dr. Ego Chukwuemeka.
Thank you again for having me.
All right, and also our regular guest, Dr. James Okocha.
We are here again.
And also beside me is Reverend Jonathan. So you're welcome on to this.
It's great to be here.
Now our topic today is the societal influence on marriages, and I would really want to start with Dr. James Okocha. So what's your thought on the societal influence of marriages as of today? Looking at the trend of marriage, those days, our fathers, and this current Gen Z.
All right, you cannot divorce societal influence
Yeah.
in marriages,
Yeah.
but at the same time, marriages should not absorb everything that comes from the society. You understand? Every marriage is peculiar in nature. You might not know.
Okay.
All right, so it's dangerous to take everything society gives you, in totality and all of that. Going by the trend today, societal influence in marriages somehow has been negative. Yeah, it's been negative because there's this consign, a trend that I see today that is a consign to me, where you have wives hitting on their mother-in-law. All right, wishing her dead, wishing that a man that comes to marry them wouldn't have a mother, and then gradually it's becoming a trend. And for me, I'm most uncomfortable with that. So societal influence, has its negative side, it has its positive side. But I think, the negative side is, on the rise.
Okay, Dr. Ego Chukwuemeka, looking at our society today, we discover that a lot of young people want to be married with their spouse, excluding their mother-in-laws, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, especially when they don't like their faces or they don't like their presence, being in their home. So as an authority and as a relationship and marriage consultant, what is your thought on societal influence on marriages today, sir?
Thank you so much. Like my colleagues rightly said,
Yes, please.
you cannot actually expect what the society has to offer to marriage.
Okay.
There are negative influences, there are also positive influences from the society. Now, what matters actually is what the society is given to the marriage.
Okay.
Now, it's not in every society you find out that we have a mother-in-law, father-in-law problem.
Okay.
Just as selected of few society.
All right, sir.
Just like we have in Nigeria.
Okay.
You have in Nigeria, but I think let's go beyond the society, because one of the primary things that is shaping the present society
Yes, sir.
is the influence of the social media.
All right, sir.
So a lot of people are drinking from the social media, which tend to affect and influence
Your family.
their idea
Okay.
and perspective about marriage.
Marriage.
But I think that despite the society, we know that we have different culture. Like you have the Christian culture,
Yes.
you have the traditional customs,
yes, sir.
and the rest of them. So it all depends on where you are involved from.
Okay.
If you are coming from the angle of the traditionalist,
Yes,
or you are coming from the angle of a Christian, being a child of God, or a Muslim, whatever you have,
Yeah.
there are things that are being allowed and things that are not allowed.
Yes.
You see, it's all inclusive affair.
Yeah.
Whether you are a mother-in-law, your brother, by that word in-law, you
Yeah.
tend to be legally bound together.
Yes.
So, but unfortunately, the contemporary society is trying to differentiate and separate these two people from the marriage. But naturally speaking, there is no problem. There's nothing that is wrong about you being in a very good, relationship with your in-laws and your mother-in-law or your father-in-law, whoever he may be. So the society, whatever you are drinking from the society, you should be sure that it does not affect the fabric of what you believe fundamentally.
All right, sir. Or Reverend Jonathan, I've been involved in the religious sphere, of our public and society, will you say that the society has really affected our marital, well-being as of today, being that you're a clergyman? And what is your thought? What is your observation, sir?
Thank you so much. Like you rightly said, as a clergyman that I am, and I've been doing this work for over 35 years now.
Alright.
I've been involved in counseling, marriage counseling, relationship counseling. Not to talk of my training background. One of the things we're taught is marriage and counseling.
Okay.
That gives me a lot of experience concerning relationship.
Yeah.
When you talk about societal influence on marriage, you're talking about the effect of culture on marriage, you're talking about tradition influence, you're talking about religious influence, you're talking about family influence, you're talking about friends influence. A whole lot can influence
In marriage.
Marriage or relationship. Recently I was talking with one of my daughters in the Lord. I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, and I was telling her that, look, as a woman you must be submissive to your husband. And I was shocked. She said to me, Daddy, that's old school. I was really shocked.
Old school.
Old school. I said,
Wow.
Is this supposed to be my daughter in the Lord?
Wow.
So
So it's an old
she
practice.
said old school. And I was shocked at first. For some seconds I couldn't say anything. But I had to quickly come in, to correct her. But what I discovered is that the society has influenced her badly. It is. We are in a dispensation right now.
Yeah.
Some people call it Gen Z, but this is a different dispensation completely. That if you are not rooted in the Word of God, what you take in, end up influences your direction in life.
Yes, please.
And that is what is affecting this lady, for her to open her mouth. And I kept thinking about this. If you say old school, if you say submission to your husband is old school, it means that the Bible is old school. And if the Bible is old school, it means that the Bible is useless in this dispensation. So it's a very big problem, sir. And so, if I should go into detail, I might take the whole time.
Yes,
But in summary, these are the angles of life that affect marriages different way. Like I mentioned, social, tradition, culture, religion, you name it. We will have seen a woman more respectful to her pastor than even her husband. We have seen a husband, he goes to the beer parlor, he listens to his friends and come and pounce on the wife, and all of that. We have seen friend, telling her fellow lady, if you don't do like this, you will not be able to get your husband. There's a Baba I can take you to. We have seen that. We have seen tradition. Maybe the woman come from a different background and the husband from another background, and she will tell you, in my place, this is how we do it. We have to do it this way. And all of that. Some will tell you, maybe you want to go and pay down. They say, look, if you don't do it like this, I'm not going to marry you. This is how we do it in our place. So this is really affecting marriages negatively. But we're not discounting the positive side of it if we may go into that.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Reverend Jonathan. So I'll be looking at topic of discussion today. We'll discover that a lot of way back we know that when people get married, a husband and wife get married, the husband is expecting the mother to come see them at home, then notify her son who are coming to say hi to you and your wife at home, and the wife is expecting the mother to come. But these days you find out that the wife is saying, please, your mother can't come now. Are we going to say it's what the society has influenced the marriage of today? Or are we going to say that it's not right that the wife says, no, your mother, her husband's mother cannot come visit them at home? Let me put that to Dr. James Culture.
Okay, you see, one of the major reasons for this kind of attitude, where ladies don't want to see their mother-in-law, one of the major reasons is materialism. Materialism. Most ladies today go into relationship with that materialistic mindset. I, me, myself.
All right.
Are you getting it?
Okay.
They want to get it all. And going back to where this thing is coming from, is also from the side. But let me say this: the one we say society, we should understand that the society now, there are two worlds. All right. There is the real world where you have the culture, the religion, and all of that. But there is a social space where you have your Twitter, where you have your Facebook, and all of that. And my friend talked about her, he's a daughter in the Lord. Let me tell you, few persons are listening to their pastors today.
As at today's world.
So that is why I am telling everybody, let not social media be your source of inspiration. Because those people teaching you, what do they know? Anybody can just put up ring light and start talking what he doesn't even know. Do you understand me? But you come if you come to see that people, because when this social media thing came up newly, people were asking me, do your Facebook, blah blah blah. I said that's one. It's a joke now. But I never knew that a time comes where reality will be on social space. I am telling you today, reality now is on social space. And that's why counselors, people that have it, should also invade the social space so that people will get real information. So the reason why these ladies, most of them are doing that, is because number one, they don't know that very soon they will have children and become mother-in-law. They don't know that they will be mother-in-law soon.
Also,
do you understand me? Like as you are wishing the mother of the man to die, that's how the lady coming in will wish your own mother. You get it?
Wow.
So that's the thing.
So it's like what goes around comes around.
But most people, my advice, get into relationship with less of business mindset. Because marriage is not a transaction, it's a mutual collaboration.
Wow, I love that statement. Marriage is not a transaction, it's a mutual collaboration. And I'm going to ask our guest, Dr. Ego Chukwemeka. Sir, these days we'll find out that a lot of women do not want to have a joint account with their hubby or with their husband because they are afraid that their husband might use the funds for his own personal or extended family needs and expenses. And we feel like the society is influencing the thought that they also have to be a independent as an independent woman. So do you think that is ideal? I've been looking at the moral, the Christian value in marriage, because I believe that the Christian value in marriage makes us stay in order and decent. What's your thoughts, sir?
Well, borrowing from what my colleague has said.
Yes, sir.
When I said earlier, fundamentally, there are things that shape the norms in the society.
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yeah.
Just like what he said, there are traditions, what we imbibe from wherever and whatever, wherever we are coming from.
Yes.
If we are coming from the angle, that's the Christian perspective.
Yes, sir.
We are coming from the traditional perspective. We are coming from any of these perspectives. These are the various perspectives that frames the society.
Yes.
And this actually constitute the norms that have been adopted in the society. So when we are talking about societal influence, it is dependent on what the society has accepted as a norm. Now, like I said earlier, we have the social media, social space, like what he was saying, which has become the major influence, most in particular to the Gen Zs, the youth, and the rest of them, who are coming up with so many of these abnormal, use the word abnormal, perceptions about life and marriage. You know, because I don't see a reason why a husband and a wife should be debating about money. You understand?
Yeah,
that?
that's
I should not tell my husband how much I own, so that he will not use it. If actually there is harmony in that relationship,
Yes.
and they complement one another, your husband money is your money, and your money is your husband's money. So both money are brought together for the betterment of the
home.
Yeah. So I don't see reason why they should have such a debate.
Yes,
like I said earlier, we should come back. Like he said, many people are no longer listening to their pastors. They are no longer listening to where they are coming from. They have soon forgotten the normal things that framed us and made us who we are as Africans.
Yes.
You understand? As Africans, they have forgotten about them. So those values are no longer there. So we are now looking at the Western world, just like we have on the last trending issue about proposal, where we debated on who should, if the man should kneel down before the wife to propose or marry. These are Western influence that are gotten from soap opera and the rest of them from the social media, which is never our practice.
Back here.
So there are some of these things that are coming up that we should not allow to frame the mindset of our people, and should not allow to be a norm. So we should be very wise to know what we copy from the society. Just like he said, either negative or positive, whatever we copy becomes what becomes a norm to us.
All right, thank you very much. Hello viewers, it's the societal influence on marriages, and it's the Alpha Spouse segment on our program. Before we bring the talk show to a close today, I want to ask Dr. Kocha, what's your advice to viewers watching so that they can make sure they build a healthy married life, imbibing the right value system and not picking what the society is presenting to them?
Okay, my advice is you can't really succeed in marriage relationship when you put religion out of it, because nothing checkmates our consciousness, nothing checkmates our attitude, nothing checkmates our humanity, nothing brings us to a place of empathy, all right, sacrifice like religion. I don't know much about that religion, but the religion I practice, which is Christianity, all right, if anybody would live by what that the Bible has said, even about relationship out of marriage, it's difficult for people to go to war. So don't neglect, don't forget the ancient landmark. Okay, so my advice is don't forget the advice of your father, just like David advised Solomon. The core value of Africa, we must, we must imbibe it and go defend.
Okay. Reverend Jonathan, what's your advice to our viewers so that they can build a good married life, imbibing the right values and not just what the society is posting to them?
Thank you so much. Talking about building a good married life, irrespective of your religious status, because we're talking to not just Christians or Muslims, but we're talking to all-encompassing people of different background. Naturally, let's put the holy book aside. Naturally, God has placed man above the woman, and the role of the man is to love the woman, and the role of the woman is to respect the man. And so if the two understand their role and they play their role, I think there'll be no problem. So basically that is it. So the woman should know that her role is to respect him, should be loyal to the man, and then the man should love the woman and be ready to make sacrifice for her. So if any of the two fail to do any of these responsibilities, then there's going to be a problem.
All right, Dr. Ego, we want to hear your last word for the viewers on today's episode on your advice to them in building a healthy married life and not just speaking what the society is posting to them through social media platforms.
Yes, my advice to the viewers, I want to come in this way. I believe we have more positive and workable values from Africa
Yes, please.
than we have from the Western culture.
world.
Mm.
You know, when you look at the Western world, you find divorce cases on the increase. You find a lot of problems associated with their marriages. The marriages in the Western world does not last.
Yes,
You understand? Does not really last. But in Africa, just as our culture and our custom upholds, we have lasting marriage, we have lasting legacies.
Yes.
We have a lot of people who have gone through marriage despite what they've seen, and they endured and they continued.
Yes.
Now, these are the basic things. But you see, the problem we have is that most of the contemporary youth does not want to take what has happened before. It has just, like he said, like the young lady that said that whatever he has said to him is obsolete. It's old school.
Old school.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's obsolete, it's old school. But I tell you, those are the values that have made marriage what it is. And those are the lasting values that have kept marriage. So if we continue to copy the Western world, of course, inevitably, we start having their problems.
Yeah.
And that's what we find in society. So stop copying the social media,
Yes,
and
please.
let's us go back to our roots.
Yes, sir.
And find how our mothers and our fathers endured and had a lasting marriage.
Thank you. So, Dr. Kocha, what's your thought on the societal influence on marriage as at today's generation?
Well, the society has, to a very large extent, influenced marriage negatively. I mean, the modern society, you know, because there's a clash between the modern society and the society that was there before, you know, the invasion of the Gen Z society right now, because there is a Gen Z thing that has almost swallowed up the whole thing. After all, it's their time, right? But I think some of the concepts they have, you know, in marriage is the things that they are buying from social space, not just the society. The society has culture, society has religion, society has some good values, but they are buying most of the things they are trending with from the social space, where you have amateur, inexperienced people, you know, talking about certain things, injecting materialism, you know, in the air and all of that. And I think most of the major problem we're having in marriages today is the extent the most ladies of today go in materialism. They'll be so materialistic that they can fight in the wedding day because of the money they are spraying. Are you getting it? One of the bad things I see that is that materialism, and it has to be talked about.
Okay, Reverend Jonathan, having heard what Dr. James Okocha said, that materialism is one of the wrong value system that the society has, you know, injected into this marriage. What's your thought on that?
Thank you so much for your question.
Yes, please.
Yes, materialism, you know, definitely has adverse effect, negative effect on marriage.
Okay.
You know, if we're going to talk about materialism, I think we'll be so narrowed. You know, if we're talking about influence, of course, we are talking about you know, traditional influence.
Yes.
You know, you're talking about cultural influence.
Yes,
You're talking about
please.
religious influence.
Yes, please.
You're talking about friends influence,
Yes.
family influence,
Yeah.
community influence. You know, on marriage. You know, so to mention just materialism, I think we have been narrowed.
Okay.
You know, marriage today, you know, span from the moral value,
Okay.
you know, we are having today. You know, there is a sharp decline, you know, in moral value,
All right.
you know, compared to where we're coming from.
Okay.
You know, and that is why you see today we have children giving birth to children. You end up having children in the society.
Wow.
And what do I mean by that? You know, you can be 50 years, 60 years, and yet you are still like a baby.
Wow.
You know, a 40-year-old person can still be breastfeeding. Wow. You know, so when such a person with such mentality give birth to children, what do you expect? You know, so, you know, there's sharp decline, and we are declining every day. You know, so it's not just about material thing. You know, there is family influence, there is friend influence. You know, we wouldn't want to blame it on religion, not even tradition. Why? Because these are institutions that are there. But the problem is that psychologically and mentally, our moral value is declining, as a result of, the dispensation we find ourselves, and that is it.
All right,
Just to make it brief.
All right, Dr. Hugo, sir, the society influence on today's marriage, are we saying that it's negatively more or is positively on the high side, sir?
Yeah, coming to your point, societal influence has become a very negative phenomenon that is apparently destroying the value of marriage.
All right, sir.
Based on the fact that most have been gotten and practiced as a norm in contemporary marriages are things that are borrowed from the social media.
All right.
That is the social space.
Okay.
And of course, you know that what is trending in the social space are things that has to do with the Western culture.
All right.
And most of these Western cultures are very, 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 opposite to what we believe, the values we uphold in this side of the world. Right. So I think that is just a major problem. And now I'm talking about Reverend Dix talked about.
Okay.
He talked about the moral decadence of the society. Morality has gone so damn so bad. And this is based on the fact that you find out that the fundamental things that have framed what we see as norm before this social space involved have been thrown aside. He talked about it. He said it's based on materialism, material space. People, inclining to material tendency. They want to possess things that they never had. They want to have things that they've never gotten, they've never worked for. And you find that those tendencies are having a strong negative effect on marriages today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Hello viewers, you're watching the Alpha Spouse Relationship segment on People's Voice newspaper, and we are treating the topic societal influence on marriage today. Before we bring this talk show to a close, I want to hear final word to our viewers so that they can, learn and build their homes so that the society, wrong values will not affect them negatively. Dr. Okocha, what's your last word to our viewers in the show?
Okay, marriage is a covenant. Is a mutual investment. Are you getting it? It is not a contract. It is not a transaction. Contrary to what the social space is teaching, especially most of our young people. So please, let's just put a transaction and contract by the side. Know that when you are going into marriage, you are going to build a family, and family is the number one unit of the society.
Reverend Jonathan, what's your last word to our audience?
My last word is I would like everybody to have this understanding that irrespective of your religious background, whether you belong to a faith or not, naturally the man has a role to play in a relationship or in marriage, and the woman has a role to play. And what is the role of the woman? I mean, the man is naturally the head of the family, or the head of that relationship. The woman is meant to follow. What it means is that the man is supposed to love the woman, right, and then sacrifice for her if need be, while the woman is supposed to respect the man. And where there's respect, there'll be submissiveness. So if the two of them have this understanding and they abide by it, I think there'll be a good relationship, irrespective of their religious background.
All right, sir. And Dr. Ego, please, what's your last advice to our audience on this talk show today?
Well, I would still come by that, by the special grace of God. We have often had our traditional values, customs that framed marriages in Africa. And I still believe that Africa still has the best and most potent values that will help marriages work. And I would like to disabuse the mind of my audience or viewers that we should go more social things that we are having now,
Correct.
which has not helped marriages.
Correct.
In the Western culture, you have crises, you have controversies associated with their marriages, you have divorce cases on the increase, you have a lot of things affecting their marriage. But in Africa, Africa has been so good with marriage by the special grace of God, despite we practice polygamy to some extent. But if we still uphold all those values, I believe marriage will work.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, guys, for being part of
Thank you
this
so much.
episode. Hello, viewers. As you heard that if we uphold the values in marriage, especially in this part of the world, this part of the continent, we'll be able to build a lasting marriage. Thank you, sir, for being part of today's episode on our first spouse relationship segment on the People's Voice newspaper. Hello, viewers. Thank you for watching. Till we'll come your way again next week. Have a blessed week. Like, comment, and share. Thank you very much, and have a blessed week.